So I want to talk about more concepts that are in this book, A Thousand Plateaus by Deleuze, Guattari, or Deleuze and Guattari, and also in the Anti-Oedipus, which I haven't read yet. I'm sorry to say, but I read this before, and I've been kind of reading it again to do videos on it. And I kind of want to talk about a few different concepts: the idea of a multiplicity, the idea of a assemblage, and the idea of a line of flight. Deleuze and Guattari talk about things as a multiplicity, but first of all, they talk about things as a plane of consistency, or a phenomenon. There is immanence, but it's a plane of consistency in that it's not a plane. It's a plane that of things that of processes and changes that do happen to be and are becoming, but it's as opposed to a cumenon, which is a plane of organization, which this is not. There's no organization. There's no hierarchy. There's no anything stable or truthful or true or meaningful, or there's no firm, real, ontological being. There is becoming. There is movement and changing and war machine. There's the nomad. There's things that are always just changing and moving, and who knows to where and who knows why, and we're not going to ask those questions. So if you want to get it better, if you want to get an intro to the concepts in this book, or if you want to kind of get a bit of an intro to what the book is in general, I do have a video about that. This video is probably not the best. Kind of going into more depth in a few concepts of this book. So, what is a multiplicity? First off, a multiplicity is basically a characteristic. It's kind of a characteristic of the plane of consistency. It's a plurality of things. It's a multiplicity is something that is plural in many different ways, and it's something that is and becomes in many different ways. And it's wide. It's a multiplicity is something that is wide ranging and full of many different assemblages and milieus and lots of different things. And this is not hierarchical either. I don't want to make it seem that way, because it's not. I kind of caught myself kind of explaining it that way, but it's not that way at all. Things can be, talked about in different ways. You can talk about things as a phenomenon, or you can talk about things as a assemblage, or a multiplicity, or a milieu, but they're not in a hierarchical way at all. But a multiplicity is something that is but not is, but it becomes in many very different ways, and contains a lot of lines of flight, and contains a lot of movement and change within it. There are a lot of different, I guess, what I would say, nodes of becoming within it. And you can talk about various different multiplicities within the cosmos. You can talk about many different ones. And you can talk about things in different ways. But I guess that's a bad way of explaining it. I should probably have done a little bit better. But it's kind of like, when you kind of understand something, but you don't know how to explain it. So, especially in this, if you have a better way of explaining something, please comment below, because this will be helpful to people watching this, and also to me. So, anybody, if you think of a better way of explaining it, but think, that's stupid. Nobody's gonna benefit from that. Why would I say that? That's wrong. Just put it. because if nobody else benefits from it, I at least will. So, I guess to go further, a assemblage is any number of things in which a single context bringing about a certain effect. So, an assemblage is almost, in a way, a blanket over a few different things that are moving or changing and becoming in different ways, but are united by a context or a certain way of thought about things, and that brings about a certain effect. And they talk about the certain effect being machinic, productive, aesthetic, axiological, or whatever. I guess the most difficult concept for me in first reading this was the assemblage, because it's not that easy to grasp when you have all these other things that do kind of make themselves a little bit easier to at least kind of think about, not understand, because it's kind of difficult. You really aren't going to understand this upon second reading, on your second reading anyway. So I guess I'm not here doing these videos because I'm trying to say that I understand it. I have a grasping, a very low grasping of it. I have enough grasping of it that I want to talk about it, but I don't have a understanding of it. I would say I'm pretty confident that I have a good understanding of Martin Heidegger's being in time. I would say that I'm pretty confident in my understanding of that. However, in this, the more I read it, the less confident I get about my understanding of it. But furthermore, a line of flight is something that is going somewhere. We're not going to ask why. We're not going to ask where it's going, but it's something that is going somewhere. So we have this very complex process philosophy with milieus, which I'm going to try to explain in a second. And that's another difficult one to actually get at. There's multiplicities, there's milieus, there's assemblages, lines of flight, body without organs, strata, all these different things, because they talk about in each chapter, they talk about it in a different way. Thus, there are many different plateaus. Each chapter is a plateau. So I don't know. I'm kind of not confident with this video at this point. However, I'm still going to post it because, and I've read tons of secondary work on Deleuze and Guattari. But the more I think about it, the more it gets kind of like foggy. But I mean, I kind of have I do have a grasping of it. I will say that, but it's hard for me to explain. Normally, I am pretty good at explaining things, and I feel pretty confident about that. However, I'm not confident enough in explaining this. So I guess my main reason for making this video is to try to explain, at least in some detail, the idea of a multiplicity, assemblage, any line of flight. A line of flight is easy, and I kind of also wanted to, bring in what a milieu is. And a milieu is a grouped set of things that are also changing, but art is more of a physical thing that is producing for a certain context, for a certain function. That's a bad way of explaining it too. So I guess I'm going to end this video now, and I guess it's kind of hard to kind of bring these concepts away from the whole work and try to explain it. So if you have, again, please just comment anything you want to comment about this. This is almost, I'm glad I'm going to post it because it's almost like a invitation for those who have good explanations to, I mean, if they do have any explanation that they find to be, you know, at least somewhat adequate, to post it. So thank you.